It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. All right, welcome to the podcast where me, the Captain, talks about movies, TV, sports, flicks, anything you can see on a tuber screen. I like to get out here and give my unique perspective, because after 46 years of being on planet Earth, I developed a unique perspective about these movies, TV, sports, and flicks, and I'd like to get out and tell you about it. Because just maybe you care. And according to the stats, looks like you do care. I want to give a big shout out to Montserrat. Got some plays over Montserrat this past week. Gracias, gratitude. And Montserrat, I heard about your lionfish. I heard you have some impeccable, delicious, magnificent lionfish. So one of these days, I'm about to go over to Montserrat and have me some delicious lionfish. Some beach, have some drinks, meet some women, have some lionfish. It'll be an epic vacation. Yeah, so one of these days I have to come check you guys out. So thanks for listening. Gratitude. And just FYI, back then I went to school to be a radio DJ, but I never got a job. I think I never got a job because I just didn't have the desire. If I just would have had the desire, maybe that would enable me to become a radio DJ. But I didn't. And that allowed me to become the greatest podcaster in the Matrix. Something to debate, might be true, might not be true, but I said it on the internet, so it's gotta be true, right? Because everything on the internet is facts, not facts, true, false, propaganda, fake news, the Matrix. Snow, rain, sleet, sun, clouds, gray skies. I don't know. I didn't make the internet. Ask the people that made the internet. So when you're online, just beware, just watch out. Anyways, I could ramble here all day, but I won't. Let's get right into the podcast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I rap. And on December 25th, 2022, Christmas Day, which is today, I rapped again. I dropped my album called The Dharma by yours truly, the Captain Che Cortez, The Dharma. It's an 8-track album with my unique style of rhyming over weird, spacey, sci-fi, cosmic sound and electronic beats. I guarantee you, when you hear The Dharma, you've never heard an album like this. It is way out craziness, because you know the Captain likes to walk the line of madness to become the baddest. And when I do my musical art, I do the exact same thing. So I'll put a link below to The Dharma over my Bandcamp page. And I guarantee you, I promise you, you have never heard an album like this. So I'll put the link below to the album. Check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. And like I told you last episode, there was supposed to be a snowstorm. And guess what? We got a snowstorm. Ladies and gentlemen, there was all types of snow all over the place. I was shoveling, wiping out my windshield, snow everywhere, feet all wet, wind chill hitting my body, my face, cold temperatures. It is crazy cold and snowy all over the place. A lot of places in America, it is like that. I live in the Midwest, in the northern part in Michigan. It is tons of snow, tons of ice, tons of cold. It's what happened. But despite all that, I made it back. Ain't enough snow on planet Earth to stop the Captain. Ain't enough wind, ain't enough snow, ain't enough clouds, ain't enough to stop the Captain, bro. You think a snowstorm is gonna stop the Captain? Nah, we push through that. In Michigan, where I'm at, we deal with that kind of thing all the time. It's nothing. We handle that business. A lot of my fellow Michiganders, they got big old trucks, just plowing through, driving through that stuff like, yeah, it's nothing. I'll take my big old truck and just drive through this. It's nothing, bro. We handle that business where I'm at. Snow's nothing. We deal with it on a regular basis. It's like nothing. So snowstorms coming, so what? Podcasts still get done. We handle that business up here. So anyways, I'm back. I made it back. Snowstorms, whatever. And this week, what I want to talk about is my favorite franchise in the universe. And if you've been here before, you know what that is. And if you haven't been here before, let me tell you what it is. My favorite franchise in the cosmos is the one and only Star Trek. You know Star Trek, beat me up, Scotty, live long and prosper. Yeah, you know that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, you know what it is. So yeah, that is my favorite franchise. And I'm going to talk about Star Trek Prodigy Supernova this week. But before I get into that, a couple of things. First of all, there will be spoilers. And second of all, I do own some shares in the parent company of Star Trek. I just want to let you know, be clear and transparent. So now that I told you that, let's get right into Star Trek Prodigy Supernova Part 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's episode of Star Trek Prodigy was absolutely epic. The stakes are so high. The existence of the Federation is unclear. The Federation could be over as we know it. There's this living construct weapon that is on the path to destroy the Federation as we know it. So these are some high stakes. Can the Prodigy crew do what is necessary to stop the destruction of the Federation as we know it? I watched the whole episode, and guess what? I'm going to spoil it real quick. That still remains to be seen. This is part 1, this is part 2, but in part 1, they did not solve that problem. In part 1, it got worse. In part 1, the living construct laid the smackdown on the Federation. It came in there and said, hey, we laying this smackdown, and the Federation is just tearing itself apart. Like, bro, it is tearing itself apart, bro. Like, oh my gosh, it's craziness. Yeah, this felt like a Star Trek movie, a great two-parter, a Star Trek series. Going into this, I was just unclear like what this would be. But let me tell you this, Star Trek Prodigy is so good. I know it's a kid's show. I know it's a little bit different than other shows, but it is so good. I'm all in. It's beautiful. I shed some tears watching as well this episode. It's a phenomenal Trek show. It's a good entry for kids. It is such a great, fantastic show. It kind of reminds me of that Clone Wars, Star Wars show a little bit as well. It is phenomenally dope. But let me do what I normally do and get into a particular aspect of the show. I want to go a little bit deeper. So in this episode, there's a scene in there where the universal translators don't work, right? So while the living construct is tearing apart the Federation, the translators just don't work. They're down, they're broke, they don't work. And so they cannot communicate with each other. And in that moment, right away, I recognize something I've been thinking about all year, right? I've been thinking about it a lot all year. This has been on my mind heavily all year. Is language and communication, right? As I told you guys in one of the prior podcasts that I feel that language is a very important thing to study and learn. Yeah, I've been thinking it all year, right? The power of communication, what we call things, is very important. So in the episode, Gwen saves the day because Gwen has been trained by her father, the diviner, in multiple languages. She's multilingual in many languages. So when the translator was down, they needed to communicate with other Starfleet allies. She was able to step in and use her communication skills to communicate. So we also find out that the reason that she was trained in all the languages, because her father, the diviner, wanted her to know all the languages so she could pit the species against each other. Because they couldn't talk to each other, but she could talk to all of them. And so she could use that as an advantage to kind of put them against each other. So yeah, that kind of thing can be done in real life, right? You know, if you know a bunch of languages and you talk to people that don't know how to talk to each other and you're kind of the intermediate, yeah, you could do some shady stuff with that. There's no doubt about it. But anyways, so in the episode, we saw all that. And like I said, it just reminded me of like the power of language, the power of words, what we call things, how we communicate. Because this year kind of just reinforced like just how important that is. How important it is we be able to talk to each other. Not just with different languages. Even if we speak the same language, sometimes we don't speak the same language, right? Like I speak English fluently. And I may talk to another person that speaks English fluently. And because the way we use our words slightly is different, sometimes there's a barrier in communication, right? It's very interesting that you could have the same language as someone else and still be some kind of error in communication, right? Now, if you take that and take two different languages, it's even more of a barrier to understand each other, right? So I think the episode just kind of highlights what I've been thinking all year, like the importance of communications. And also to take it back to old Trek, the 60s, where they had Uhura as a communications officer. I think that's what they called it, communications officer. Just how important communication is. Because like I said in a prior podcast, the world that we live in, the reality we exist in, is built on words, right? Look around wherever you're at right now, wherever you're at. Whatever language or languages you speak, you have a name for every item in your space. If you're in your car right now, you got a steering wheel, you got a radio, mirror, right? Seats, air conditioning, heat, right? All words are used to describe these things. And if you speak a different language, you have different words for those, right? But every building space you're in, car, office, building, outside, the words shape that reality, right? And if you're bilingual, you have multiple words to shape those realities, right? Words shape the reality. And knowing that, if we're able to communicate effectively and know many words, that's going to enable us to do better in the world, communicate with each other better, and just thrive better in the world, to just have no mooring of languages and communication. Because it is powerful. There's a lot of things that go down on planet Earth. A lot of happenings, a lot of action, a lot of things that go down, a lot of thoughts being thought. But I think one of the major things that make the earth go round is language and communication. Now, maybe that's not true. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something that's more important than that. It could be. I don't know. I'm just a podcaster. But try navigating the globe with a lack of knowledge of language. It'd be very difficult. Now, I'm sure it's doable. I'm sure it's achievable. But it'd be way more complex than if you didn't have it. Also, that being said, with a language and communication, you can also change your mindset, right? You can be in one building, one place, one situation, and based on the word choices you use, can determine how you will do in that situation, scenario, whatever. I'll give you an example from yesterday. I was out doing some things yesterday, right? And I got to test that theory. I was out doing something that someone may consider difficult, okay? Some people might have perceived it as being difficult. And my older self might have perceived it as being difficult. But when I was in the moment doing these things, I said, let's test those theories. Let's see if the language really does have the impact it does. And when I was doing these tasks, I shifted language. I shifted communication. I changed the narrative in the mindset. And lo and behold, it was easy. And I've done that in the past in not as difficult situations, and it was harder. But this time around, I changed the mindset, changed the mentality, and walked and breezed through it, bro. That is the power of language, and that's what was shown in Star Trek Prodigy, the power of language and communication. So if you got anything from this episode, know that language is powerful, communication is powerful. So if there's a skill set that we want to work on in 22 and forward, language and communication. You want to get results, you want things to happen, you want to accomplish things, language, communication will get you there. At least that's my theory. I could be totally wrong and not know what I'm talking about. Very possible. But I suspect there might be some truth to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, read lots of books, study languages, watch people you admire and how they talk, learn from them, study, learn, talk, rap, rhyme, do podcasts. Sharpen your linguistic skills, sharpen your comprehension, sharpen your reading skills. Just intake, learn as many words as possible, as much language as possible, many ideas as possible. Take it in and just enhance your life. That is what I learned from Star Trek Prodigy this week. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just a crazy man. That's very possible. But anyways, I love Star Trek because Star Trek always takes me to interesting places with my thoughts. And that's where it took me this week. So anyways, Star Trek Prodigy Supernova Part 1 was absolutely fantastic. I love Star Trek. I say it all the time. Star Trek is the greatest franchise in the universe. So if you've not seen Star Trek Prodigy, if you've not seen any other Star Trek, I highly recommend go over to Paramount Plus and watch all the Trek you can. You will not be disappointed. And also, you may learn a little something on the way. So anyways, thanks for joining me. Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. We're almost to the end of the year. Let's close down this year powerful. And until next time, we'll see. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Until next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks Flicks.